Now back to properties of exponents. We're going to look at division. There are four major properties. We talked about adding and subtracting. We talked about multiplying. Now we're going to talk about division. Well, for division, we know we're going to add a little something extra in here in division. A equals B and C cannot equal 0. All right, you're going to see why here in a little bit. So knowing that, we know that A over C equals B over C. Now, the reason why C cannot equal 0 is because if it were 0, it would be undefined. And we can't have answers that are undefined. So we just say that A equals B and C cannot equal 0. So we know that our C cannot equal 0. So now looking kind of an example here, we're going to look at an example. We're going to look at 5x equals 7. Again, we have a number and a variable next to each other, which means we're multiplying those two together. Equals 7. So we need to get x by itself. First thing to do here, first kind of only thing to do here is to get rid of this 5. We have this x, we have 5x, we're trying to get rid of everything but the x. Trying to get x by itself. So we're multiplying by 5 here, so to do the opposite, the inverse there, we're going to equal it out, we're going to divide both sides by 5 because that's going to cancel those out or make it a 1, and we're going to be left with x equals 7 over 5, and that would be our answer. Now you can go further, I'm going to go further here, but again that is your answer. To check that, all you would do is plug in 7 over 5 into our original equation. So we're going to come down here, we're going to go 5 times 7 over 5 equals 7. I put parentheses here because you're not supposed to put a fraction next to a number without putting it inside parentheses or showing multiplication. This is showing multiplication, especially since there's only one number, that number being a fraction inside the parentheses. So what we're going to do is we multiply 5 times 7 over 5, and it actually gives us 7. Use your calculator if you don't believe me, and I'll work it out over here too as well. But we know that 7 equals 7, gets back to A equals B, checks it off, x equals 7 over 5, that's right. To find this out without a calculator, you would just say 5 is actually 5 over 1. That's how it's written as a fraction, times 7 over 5. You can do it two different ways here. You can multiply straight across on the top, which is 35, and multiply straight across on the bottom, which gives you 5, which equals 7. It's one way of doing it. Or another way, 5 over 1 times 7 over 5. You would look at the opposite, look at numerators and denominators, and what simplifies and cancels out. Well, these 5s we're going to cross out and make 1s because they cancel each other out. 5 over 5 is 1, so we have 1 over 1, and then you multiply straight across. 7 times 1 is 7, 1 times 1 is 1, which gives you 7. So two different ways of kind of working fractions out there. But in the end, the answer is x equals 7 over 5, and you can check that with your calculator.